What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SNS show. Crazy news. Brock Purdy, finally, they sign him and they get the deal done. We got a special guest today with Aaron Cater. Let's dive into this and let's get into it. So finally it happens. Brock Purdy and the 49ers agree to terms. It's a $265 million contract, $53 million per year. You know, this whole time we were so convinced that the 49ers were holding out for a reason and they weren't going to give him what it is that he wanted. And ultimately, the 49ers do what they do and they give the player what he wants in the end. And it's been a theme for the 49ers for the last, 3 or 4 years. The player holds out to a point where he gets what he wants. And the last one being Brandon Ayuk, and now Brock Purdy gets it done early. And $53 million, a lot of people might say, oh, 53 is, kind of where he belongs, considering the people are, like when we're talking about Trevor Lawrence or Tua and stuff like that. But I've always said this, what are the state of those franchises, and are they in a state of regret, or are they happy with their deals? And I firmly believe those franchises wish they could reconstruct those contracts. And I'm hoping the 49ers aren't one of those teams. I do think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. 53 just might be a stretch.
Okay, so yeah, 53 is kind of what I expected. We wanted 40, 45. But the realistic number for Brock Purdy is sitting right around 53. Like $53 million makes him the seventh highest paid quarterback in the league. He's sitting right there with Jared Goff. So if you're comparing him strictly with Jared Goff because they're getting paid the same exact average amount per year, Brock Purdy does things better than certain things Jared Goff does, and Jared Goff does certain things better than Brock Purdy. So, I mean, the number makes sense. It's just under Tua's money. There's pros and cons at the end of the day. Congratulations, Brock Purdy, though. You're the last pick player in the NFL draft in 2022, and you got this sort of payday. That's big time. That's a
Go ahead, Cater. What do you think? Your mic's on mute. Anyway, so for me, the biggest thing is that Brock Purdy, in my opinion, is a good quarterback. He's on the brink of being elite. He hasn't proven that yet. Do I think he'll be elite? I honestly don't. I think he's a $45 million quarterback, in my opinion. I think you can get pretty far in this league with a $45 million quarterback that plays at the level of Brock Purdy. I just think $53 million is a little bit of a stretch, and the 49ers are going to have to accept the fact that you're going to need him to play at a very high level now, because he's not going to have the same kind of rosters he's had so early in his career.
Right. Like, okay, in certain aspects, if you think about it, this was a good year to sign a quarterback. This is the year where we just got a lot younger. So if these rookies pan out to be really good and we're paying the quarterback and we have a quarterback that we like, then we can be contenders for these upcoming years, because the money's not spread around. We have our core players, and then we have a lot of young guys. So like I said, if those young guys turn out good, then we have a good team. But listen, at the end of the day, I'm like, if we get into some of the pros and cons of Brock Purdy's signings, I want to start with the pros. We'll get into the cons for sure, because it's well documented that me and you have been against paying him this sort of money. But if we start with the pros, for one, George Kittle said it this week. There's not a lot of off-season drama. There's not players holding out, so that helps. That brings the locker room together more, in a way that George Kittle said best. So, I mean, that's a pro. There's no quarterback controversy, and that's a big deal.
Aaron, I think you got your mic sorted out. So, what's your perspective on Brock Purdy being paid $53 million per year?
Obviously, it was huge news when I saw that, and I really, honestly, did not expect the Niners to give him the bag, because I thought, even though he's proven that he's capable, wouldn't they rather go out with this team and get a rental for a couple of years. Not saying what's Minnesota's guy's name from last year, who they almost signed once.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, like Darnold proved last year that you shouldn't rent him. But my question is, if you don't give Purdy the bag, what team would give Purdy this amount of money?
And that's the key right there. Is I don't think a lot of teams were lining up for a trade. I don't think a lot of teams were lining up to pay Brock Purdy this number. The 49ers decided ultimately to pay him this. I think they did it a little early. I still think, I personally think Purdy was in a tough spot. I mean, if the 49ers choose not to sign him right away, Mac Jones gets opportunities, and that's not good for Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy almost feels pressured to sign. And instead, the 49ers fall to the pressure and they make the first move and they go ahead and sign. If you want to ask me how many teams were willing to make a trade, I think it was slim to none because they knew ultimately you would have to pay him this kind of a contract.
So my question is, how does that hamstring the team? What can't they do now that they owe this guy money?
It's all good. Honestly, the way you got to look at it is the 49ers have been a team that's been stacked all around a quarterback that's not getting paid. And they've done that for a while. Even when Jimmy G, near the end of his career in the 49ers, he wasn't getting paid much at that time compared to the other quarterbacks. And so the 49ers were able to stack a roster around him as well. And, we've never played with an elite quarterback. That's never been the reason why we've gone so far. It's always been the defense. And this time it's going to be different. It's going to, the 49ers are going to have to expect some big things from Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy's going to have to live up to that contract. And we all know what that brings with it. It brings pressure. And is Brock Purdy going to be able to live up to it?
Right. So basically, at the end of the day, the signing of Brock Purdy basically limits the 49ers in a aspect of going after big name free agents and going after things like that. But what good organizations do when you got to quote unquote reset is you draft good players. That's what the good organizations do. So the 49ers have sat down and they said, listen, we got to get back to what we do best. Let's draft good players and let's build that around him. You got the quarterback you want. No.
What positions
Go
do they
back to
need to
defense.
address?
Well, the 49ers definitely did exactly what we hoped they did going into the draft, and that was addressing the defense. The 49ers' success, it's been no secret. It's been a lot of good defensive football. And the 49ers lost some key names on that defense, and they addressed it in the draft. Always you're hoping that these guys are going to come in and live up to the hype and stuff like that. But the reality is you don't always hit on all your picks. You just got to pray that you hit on your early ones. And, the 49ers have been very fortunate in the past hitting on the late ones. So let's hope that continues here this year. Some of the later guys, step up and become bigger than they were expected.
So that's the end of Brock's rookie contract. That's why they paid him, right? Like his rookie deal was up.
So this is his last year on his rookie deal. So it's a 5-year extension after that. So he's still not making big money this year. I think it's $5 million this year. And then it'll jump to $55 million. So this is what I liked about the contract. It's more front loaded. So the first 3 years, he's getting $55 million a year. And then the number sort of drops down a little bit in those last 2 years. So the reason I like that is because if some of our rookies do pan out and we need money to sign them, if Brock Purdy's number goes down in 3 years, that sort of frees up some more of our money for our rookies.
The other thing, too, that people are not noticing here is that, in 3 years' time from now, that $50 million won't be as bad as it is today.
That's true.
The salary cap is going up every single year, and 50 mil might become a bargain at that time where, the top quarterbacks are getting paid 65 or 70. It's not hard to believe when Dak Prescott's getting paid 60 right now.
Right. Actually, that's a good calculation. I'm sure they did. They played it out because if they go out and sign a veteran quarterback or even a rental, they're going to end up probably spending the same amount, don't you think?
Right. Well, not the same amount. I mean, they're going to probably spend like a Baker Mayfield, $35 million, or Sam Darnold, 30 some million as well. I don't know what Russell Wilson signed with the New York Giants. That's another rental, I
For
guess.
God, he's a
But
giant.
but
Jesus.
I wouldn't expect too much either. The thing is, the 49ers are not in position right now to expect to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think that that's expectation. If the 49ers are able to make the wild card and get a win there, I think that's a huge success, something to build on going into next year when they actually get their money back, with all these cap penalties. The 49ers are, in my opinion, on the right path. I mean, the only thing that I disagree with as of right now is this contract. I think this contract is too much.
That was
The,
my instinct.
the contract, like you said, it's not going to be so bad in a couple of years. And here's the thing. Are the 49ers, because you keep talking about how the other top 10 paid quarterbacks, those franchises are in the state of regret. It all comes down to, is the 49ers going to be another team that regrets this sign? Are they? That's the real question. If in 3 years we love Brock Purdy still, then this isn't too much money. But if in 2 years we're like, frick, this guy's handicapping our team, that's going to suck really bad. Because then you're in a
Well,
situation where it's like,
that
how do
goes
you
back to your, like, I don't know what your guys' opinion of Brock has been since starting, but he was impressive that first year he had to start. But ever since then, I'm like, he's a guy that's not going to lose the game for you, but he's not a guy that's going to carry the team. He can't do it. He's not like a star quarterback that's going to win a game for you. He's just not. He doesn't seem like that guy.
His best performance to date, in my opinion, is a game that Sid and I were at, and that was against the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. But the thing that sparked that comeback was actually a lucky play that went off a guy's face mask. But Sid also said something that's pretty relevant, and that's giving your top receiver an opportunity in that play in Brandon Ayuk. And so it goes off the guy's face mask, and Ayuk makes a play. But the truth is, Jimmy G would never make that throw.
Oh yeah, that's
It's just
true.
not something he's interested in even trying a downfield shot. And,
Hmm.
that sparked the comeback. But don't ever forget what he did in that second half. And his legs were rolling, and he was a big part of that comeback. He made a lot of big plays in that game. So
I
that's
forgot
my
about that
favorite.
game.
That's my favorite Brock Purdy game in reality, because the pressure's on. It's the biggest stage, and
Right.
he played. He played. Do I think Brock Purdy's a top 5 quarterback in this league? I don't. And that's where my issue is with $53 million. Is $53 million bad in 3 years? Probably not. I really could see that this contract benefits the 49ers in 3 years from now. I just feel like if you were the 49ers and you stuck to your guns, you probably got them at like 46, 47. And sure, that's only a difference of, $5 or $6 million. But that's another good player. And
Yeah.
you can bring in a rental player at that
I,
number.
Right.
I agree with what you're saying. I do. But I think the 49ers are weighing their options and they're thinking, if bargaining for that last $4 or $5 million difference is risking a sort of, like, man, last offseason was horrible. The drama filled with that was just absolutely painful, and it takes a toll on the team. And if you're having, and that's without quarterback drama. So if you wanted to add quarterback drama possibly to this offseason over a couple $1 million, I don't know if that's worth it. I think that was in the minds of the 49ers front office.
Yeah, but Cater brought up a good point. If the 49ers were unwilling to pay him this money and they were willing to trade him, how many teams would have been willing to do it? And the reality is the list was not big. The 49ers
Mm-mm.
were not rolling in trade offers.
No.
Yeah,
And
but I find that unfair. Like, I think that's simply because he was a 7th round pick. Like, honestly, like, listen, you talk to somebody who knows football. You talk to somebody who knows football. They're not going to tell you that he's much worse than Jared Goff or worse. They might tell you he's better than Jared Goff.
I'm
But
not
Jared
buying.
Goff
I'm
is,
not buying the reason is because he's a 7th round pick. I mean,
Yeah,
if
I don't think the
if
pick
he's a
is
big
it,
time quarterback, they're not going to care where he's
he's
drafted in
he's
order to
proved he
benefit
so
belongs
their
in
is
the
he
team.
not a
NFL
big
at this
time
point.
quarterback? Yeah, but is he not a big time
He's
quarterback?
not a top 5. The reality is when you're paying a
Neither is
guy
Jared Goff.
53, yeah, and he's overpaid, and so is
But he
Trevor
would
Lawrence,
not
and
trade
so
it.
is Tua.
Right, but I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about trade offers. Jared Goff would bring trade offers.
Yeah, Goff has more I don't know why his rep was so good coming out of Cal and why he was so highly rated, but it's a good comparison because they're both very system quarterback types, and Brock works really well in the system. And back to your point about the front office and the stability of the franchise is like, if you're like a team that gets a new offensive coordinator every fucking season, shouldn't pay Brock this contract. But Niners are so stable, and they got the same head coach, and they're going to have the same system that he's been in for what, 3-4 seasons now. So it's probably not that big a risk. It's a bigger risk when you're one of those franchises that go back to like the Jets, or one of those quarterbacks like Sanchez, or somebody who's like, everybody like, what happened to him? Why did he fall apart? Well, he had a different offensive coordinator every single season. And you got to have stability with your quarterback, with the system. And Brock's he's a good system quarterback. My question is, like, he's not huge arm. He's not this, he's not that, but the team seems to like him. His teammates love him.
Mhm.
And I guess he fits. They know something we don't, because they paid him, and I don't know what kind of offers they were exploring, or if they didn't get offers, or if they wanted to move on. Like, if they don't pay Brock, who's out there that you would really want?
Right. It's not easy to replace a guy like Brock Purdy. And another thing, I think what we're seeing is the bargain number. I think $53 million was not the 49ers folding. I think this was the 49ers goal. I think this is the bargain offer. I think he was initially going for Dak Prescott money. And I just
Wow.
said, slow down. We'll give you $53 million. And
Yeah.
eventually he possibly folded. Like, we don't know the full story. Maybe this is Brock Purdy folding. We don't know the quarterback market. Like we're saying, this could be a bargain in 3 years. So
Maj Sports says he's a top 10 quarterback. And that's kind of where he's at. He's right at 10, 11, 12. But if
Well-
Brock Purdy plays like he did against the Detroit Lions, he's comfortably in the top 10. There's a lot of guys that are in the top 10 that'll take him over if he can play that level of football.
Mhm.
The truth is, the 49ers really leaned on Brock Purdy last year with all those injuries, and the system changed. It went from a scheme where it was a one-read offense and so much misdirection and creating such easy plays and easy reads for a young quarterback. And it went to an offense where we went to 5-step and 7-step drops and really leaning on his ability to scan the field. And we've seen a drop in his game. Now, would I say the 49ers are going to come into this year and run that same offense? I highly doubt it. I think you're going to see a different creativity of Kyle Shanahan. He's going to go back to his old ways, and it's going to benefit Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy can bring the ability he has, which is with his legs, combining with Kyle Shanahan making life easier again. The 49ers could get right on track real quick. And that defense, if it holds up with the new additions, especially the coach, I'm a big believer in coaches on defense. And you got a guy that's a raw guy. The players love him. He's been here before. He took us to the ship.
Who's the
49ers,
DC?
Robert Saleh. So we brought him back.
Oh,
And that's a massive addition. When you bring in a guy that the players already love, he's the guy that really created Fred Warner in a sense.
that's right.
So we brought him back. The scheme is back. The players they brought in are all about stopping the run. And I've always said this. I said this before the draft. You cannot play defense in this league if you do not stop the run. I'll tell you how the 49ers will look after the draft. Well, they addressed that very problem. They brought in Alfred Collins, CJ West in the interior. They brought in the best edge setter in the freaking draft in Mikael Williams. And then there's the secret weapon. Not a lot of people are talking about him, Nick Martin. Get ready for a man to fly around at a 4.53, very reminiscent of number 53. 57, and Dre Greenlaw. The only difference is you cannot guarantee he's going to be Dre Greenlaw, because Dre Greenlaw is so he's a freaking angry player.
Oh,
He's
Greenlaw.
An angry player. So that's a big loss. So the Niners are making their efforts to replace these losses. I just can't guarantee they will live up to it. I do believe Nick Martin is a secret weapon.
Wait, so Martin's a DB or he's a linebacker?
He's a linebacker.
Oh, wow, that's impressive. I didn't know that. I know you guys are really, paying attention to the draft. You guys are way deeper into this than I am, but that actually you paint a picture that they addressed a lot of needs, and they've always drafted well, and they drafted heavy on defense. But are you saying that they're going to go back to like zone blocking, run game heavy with McCaffrey?
I mean, the reality is the Niners are always going to be a run-first offense if Kyle Shanahan's calling the plays. But the reality is when you run the ball at a high level, it makes life easy on a quarterback because now you're able to call a play action where they actually believe it.
Right.
And then you get a wide open player in George Kittle or even Christian McCaffrey himself. That's a huge weapon coming out of the backfield that we didn't have last year.
You're not upset
Um,
about losing Debo.
Honestly, Sid, what do we say about Debo? He wasn't the same.
He's not the same, and if he comes back the same as he looked in the previous years, then good on him. But I
I'm
doubt
fucking
it.
excited as a Commanders fan.
There's a lot to be excited about as a Commanders fan. That's for sure.
But who fills that spot? So obviously, Kittle, McCaffrey, and
There's
Ayuk. But who's the other?
there's
Who
Jawan
else?
Jennings, who, if you
Oh
ask
God, he
him,
was the best receiver they had all season.
he's a stud, and he'll tell you he's the number one. Like that's the
Okay.
guy. That's the type of guy Jawan Jennings is. He knows he's a stud, and he is good. This is
Okay.
probably our last year with him because he's probably going to get paid after this year. I think this is his last contract year with the 49ers.
What about Jennings?
There's weapons all around Brock Purdy. This season just got real interesting for 49er fans. It's exciting. It's exciting because you can see a young, fast defense. And now
Steve-O says he doesn't want to judge players where they're drafted. And on plays field, his stats are saying that he's a top 10 or top 12 quarterback. And I agree. I don't think the NFL, when a guy's in the league, maybe the media is different, but coaches and organizations do not care where the guy's drafted. If they believe in him, they're going to freaking pay to get him. So I don't think that the trade offers were lacking because
I highly disagree. No, I'll stand to this. I highly disagree.
That's a media thing.
No, it's not a media thing. It's a Jalen Milroe. Okay, one start, I get it. But guess what? He looked like an absolute stud, but he's a late pick. So you can't ask much for him. If Jalen Milroe was a first-round pick and his one start looked like that, you ain't trading him for anything less. But Brock Purdy,
they gave up a third-round pick for a guy with one start because of what they think he could be. So I don't know, a third-round pick for a guy that's played one game.
But we're not talking about
price.
We're not talking about what Brock Purdy could be. We're talking about what he is. And
you brought up Jalen Milroe, so I was just responding to that.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is Brock Purdy, it's not about what he could be. We know what Brock Purdy is, but he's a 7th-round pick. So a team may feel stupid giving up a first-round pick for somebody who was drafted in the 7th round. It's a reality.
Do you guys have a list? Would a team
feel stupid to give up a first-round pick for Tom Brady?
Yeah, isn't there a list
silly
of
argument.
Players?
It's a silly argument to compare Tom Brady to Brock Purdy.
No, that's what I'm trying to get at. If the guy is the guy, they don't care where he's drafted. That's what I'm saying.
But he is the guy.
No, he's not. He's not a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, top 5 is different. He's top 10. He's top 10. He didn't get a trade offer. You don't find anything weird with that?
Just hold on a second. He's top. It's about what he's being paid. We're not talking about this. So teams are not interested in paying him $55-60 million. That's what that tells you.
He's better than Tua. He's better than
Tua's overpaid.
Let's pull up the list. Okay, you could say everyone's overpaid, but this is the quarterback market. So he's better than Trevor Lawrence. He's better than Tua. He's better. These are guys in the top 10 where Brock Purdy, you could easily say, is better than. And you could say
Trevor Lawrence is not in the top 10.
Trevor Lawrence gets $55 million a year.
He's not in the top 10.
You guys know Jay Ratliff?
Highest paid quarterback in the league.
I don't care. He's not in the top 10. I don't know what you're getting paid doesn't mean he puts you in the top 10.
You remember Troy Brown, the MVP of the Super Bowl from the Patriots?
I'm talking about top 10 highest paid players.
What I'm getting at is teams don't believe he's a top 10 quarterback. That's why they're unwilling to trade $55 million for him. That's what I'm getting at.
Be honest, if Trevor Lawrence was on the trade block, could they trade him?
55? They're going to have a hard time trading him right now.
They would
very, very hard. You don't think the Jaguars would love to sell that $55 million contract? Do you think they love what they see out there?
I don't think they love
That's like saying the Dolphins would be unwilling to trade Tua right now. Come on.
I think
there's a place in the middle.
They love the return, but they could trade him.
I think there's a place in the middle where you're both sort of correct. Like right now, people might feel stupid to trade for Brock Purdy because he's proven that he belongs here, but he hasn't proven that he could carry an offense without a system or anything like that. So they might be worried about that. But look, I'm just Googling it. Marquise Colston, right? I don't know if he's on a Hall of Famer, but you remember Marquise Colston, the wide receiver,
Saints, yeah,
7th round pick. There's guys like that, or Troy Brown was
another late
Super
round pick.
Bowl MVP, right? 8th round pick. Now, after they proved themselves and their bona
Yeah,
fides, nobody
it's
gives a shit
irrelevant.
what pick they
Yeah,
were.
it's true.
But
It's
maybe
not
Brock's
true.
still in that prove it phase. I don't know.
He's not, and
He
that's
is. Yeah,
my
yeah.
evidence behind it. He's not.
I think the
I think he
Niners are
still is a
okay.
little bit.
Ask yourself this: if Brock Purdy is him, like the way you're describing him, do you think they hesitate to sign him?
I'm not saying he's him. I'm saying we know what
Exactly.
he is. We know what Brock Purdy is.
Yeah,
Do you believe we know? Do we know what Brock Purdy is?
I think Brock Purdy is a tier 2 quarterback near the middle of tier 2.
Okay, so we know that. I agree, and we know that.
Exactly. So that's the
So
reason why
there's
they're
no more
hesitant. That's the reason why they're hesitant to pay him. I mean, if you felt like there's still more upside to Brock Purdy's game, and he's shown what he's shown already, you pay him a long time ago. But they kind of feel like that's who Brock Purdy is, kind of like what you're saying, and you're going to end up paying him this money. This is what you get. It's not like
Dude.
he's gonna. It's like Cater spoke on this earlier. It's not like he's gonna carry the team. I do believe he can. He's capable of doing it at times, but he's not gonna carry you through the season and get you to the Super Bowl off his shoulders.
Yeah. And he's also not going to lose the game for you. He's not going to
My-
be Brett Favre and sling it too much and do crazy shit. But is he going to carry a team when everybody's down?
My views haven't changed on Brock Purdy. I know what Brock Purdy is. And the 49ers know what Brock Purdy is, and the NFL knows what Brock Purdy is. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. Brock Purdy, like we always say, is between the 12 to 9 range in terms of ranking. If you're talking about a quarterback that is 12 to 9 ranking in the entire NFL, you should not have a problem trading him. But the reason the 49ers have a problem getting return for him is he was a 7th-round pick.
We don't know what the
Okay,
return
who's
was.
above
We don't
him
even
in
know
that
if people are
ranking?
interested.
Who's above him in
Exactly.
that top 10 or top 12 that you would prefer to have or not prefer to have? Like, would you rather have Tua? Would you rather have Goff? Would you rather have any Trevor Lawrence?
I would rather have Justin Herbert, the top 4, and then there's Matthew Stafford, there's Justin Herbert. I'd rather have Jordan Love. I'd rather have,
Really?
yeah.
Actually, I
But-
like Jordan Love.
But there's Jalen Hurts, who's getting $51 million a year, by the way, just got knocked out of the top 10 in terms of pay. But I would rather have Brock Purdy over Jalen Hurts. And not a lot of people agree with that, but that's how it is. If Jalen Hurts were to demand a trade right now, you best believe you're getting at least a 1st-round pick for him. And then more picks.
What round was Jalen Hurts drafted?
I believe 2nd. Am I wrong there?
I'm not sure. I
thought he slipped down in the draft.
He
Because
definitely
honestly,
slipped.
in college, I was like, after he left Alabama and he had a great year at Oklahoma, I still was like, oh, I'm happy for the guy, but he's not an NFL quarterback. And then he just proved everybody wrong.
What was he?
Again, he's a huge beneficiary of being on a team with a fantastic defense and a lot of good players around him, like 2 elite receivers, and then this past season an elite running back, and play calling that really benefits his game and not being asked to do too much.
He was a 2nd-round pick. So
2nd round? Oh, okay. So what's up with the O-line for your Niners here?
So the Niners right now going into this season are going to bank on Trent Williams lasting the full year. They don't really have a lot of people outside of Trent Williams to play that left tackle position. They got a guy that's a guard typically that they're going to ask to be a swing tackle unless this DJ Humphries contract is solidified, which is really strange. They sign a guy, then 2-3 weeks later they're talking about this contract's not a for sure thing, which was strange for me to read, and still no conclusion on that. So hopefully DJ Humphries is a 49er, and that'll be a great addition in terms of a guy that can come off the bench and replace an injured tackle if it happens.
Yeah,
and he can play either side.
Yeah, he's a guy that's played a lot of football, and he's been a Pro Bowler as well, and he's only 31 years old.
Oh, damn. So they have a pretty deep room for O-linemen, or is it?
I wouldn't call it 49. That's probably the weakest spot on the team.
Yeah, okay, because that's trouble.
It's trouble, especially when you pay a quarterback a lot of money like that. I think they're going to approach next offseason similar to the way they approached this offseason, but in terms of O line instead of D line. They
But
need
they're
to
not
go.
done yet, right?
Oh, their team's
Yeah, the
draft
team's
is over. Free
yeah.
agency's done.
Okay, so here's the 49ers schedule. Week 1, they find themselves in Seattle. And when this dropped, I kind of came around the record of like 12-5. That sounds crazy because of what this 49er team's been through. To believe that they're going to finish 12-5 before this came out was kind of crazy, but I do think I do think they are gonna finish 12-5. So week 1
Wow.
in Seattle, what do you think is gonna happen there? Do you think it's a win or do you think it's a loss? For me, it's a win.
Who's playing quarterback for Seattle now?
Sam Darnold.
Oh God.
I'll take a win there.
Yeah, that's a W. New Orleans is fucking circling the drain, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. New
That's
Orleans,
another one.
that's another win. So week 2, I put the Niners 2-0.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
Arizona.
Arizona's due for a bounce back after this past season.
I think Arizona plays the 49ers really well. They struggle for whatever reason against Kyler Murray, especially defensively. So I don't know. I think the 49ers are going to look a little different this year defense-wise. You're not going to be able to run on them. I think that's going to affect Kyler's game. I think the Niners go 3-0.
Yeah, I think the defense is younger and faster, and it's going to be able to handle Kyler Murray a little bit better. So,
I don't know what's up with Arizona. I just know that last year was like, it seemed like a fluky, horrible season for them, and I expect them to bounce back, but I don't know what they've been up to.
So Jacksonville, week 4. Niners, so we're all in agreement they're 3-0. Anyway, that's my record as of right now. Against Jacksonville at home.
4-0.
I think that's a tough order for the Jags to come all the way across the nation and get a win in San Francisco. I think the Niners go 4-0.
Okay. I think they beat the Rams. I think the Rams were overachieved last season too. I don't think they'll be as good.
I'll almost guarantee a loss there.
Yeah.
You
mean for the Rams?
I won't.
I think the Niners lose that game.
I want one win against the Rams this season.
It's a great rivalry.
I don't think they're going to win that game. I think the Rams are going to take a little bit of a leap this year. They'll be the challenge. They'll be the team that would be hard pressed to beat for the division.
You know what keeps my hopes up though? When you mess with Matthew Stafford's pocket, we've seen it. We've seen it in past years. So if the Niners got that pass rush that we're hoping for, there's a chance. Anything's possible if you got a good pass rush. So if Michael Williams and Nick Bosa are on their game.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying that they could split. Just I don't think the one in LA is the one they're going to take.
Oh, that's true. I don't know what LA's doing. I don't know why it was so hard to move Cup. I know we've talked about it before. Like, he's not the same guy. He's aged, whatever. But I don't know what the Rams have done. I don't know what they're looking like. I just thought they overachieved last year. I didn't expect them to be as good as they were. So this season, I feel like it's a stretch for them to do what they did last year.
They're going to be hard to stop with the addition of Devontae Adams alongside Puka.
Yeah.
The Niners are going to be better on defense, I believe, this year, just simply the fact that they lost a terrible coach. I think they had the worst defensive coordinator I've ever watched. And then, you bring in Robert Saleh. I think that alone right there makes the Niners defense better. And then
for sure,
the draft, they really address the defense. So I'd like to believe that the 49ers defense is going to be better. But I'm going to say that they lose that game. And if you want to call a split, Sid, then maybe the home game is the one they take. They do play the Rams well. They have always played the Rams well.
Yeah. Don't we know the Rams game? Both of them are home games. So
that's true.
Wait,
that is
where's
true.
The other?
Because in LA, the Niners fans just take over. I've been there. It's a sea of red whenever you go to LA.
Mm.
Yeah, there are so many Niners fans in LA, and then the second LA matchup is in San. Okay, I see. I don't know what's up with Tampa.
I'll agree with you. I'll take that loss. So let's go.
They go to Tampa. This is an interesting one. Early start. Got to go across the country. Go all the way to Florida. What do you think, Sid?
This is a tough one. It depends. They got a good running back now. I like their run game, and Baker Mayfield's a stud. He's a gamer. I don't know what additions they sort of added to their defense this year, or if they lost. I don't know. But I'm going to I'm going to say a loss on this one. I think Baker Mayfield's going to pull through on that.
I'm the other way
Yeah,
around. Did
I
you guys
agree.
realize that LA game's a Thursday night game? So they're going to be on short rest. They're going to lose in LA. Then they're going to have long rest, go to Tampa.
That's true, but I mean, it's just I think Tampa's been like I like the direction of Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I really do.
Yeah.
I think their offense is going to be very hard to stop this year. And Baker Mayfield has shown us a lot of good things since he's arrived in Tampa Bay. I expect that to continue. And it's just it's a tough game. The Niners, every time they got to go to Florida, the last time they won, I think, was in Jacksonville. Remember that game? Sid, the Niners played unbelievable. But even last year, they went to Miami. They lost to the Dolphins, who were a struggling Dolphins team, and the Niners are just struggling more.
What's up with Tampa? They still Godwin, Evans, like same.
So Godwin's coming off a nasty injury.
Yeah, he is.
But they drafted it. The guy they had last year, the young guy that they had,
Yeah.
McMillan. I liked him, and I believe they drafted another receiver this year. So yeah, so that they're really addressing the offense. They want to have an explosive offense. I think they're going to get that.
Are they going to run the ball, Tampa?
Oh yeah.
They got a young guy too from last year who really played at a high level in Bruce Irving. So I'm going to say the Niners lose. That's 4-2. Home against Atlanta.
I got a loss here. I hate to say that, but I got a loss here.
You think Atlanta's going to be just as good to pick up where they left off?
I think Atlanta's just a bad matchup. I mean, hey, if the 49ers rookies do their job and they could stop the run, legit stop the run, which as a 49er fan I have high hopes for, then we win that game because their defense doesn't intimidate me. But it's hard to say.
That's going to be a late game on Sunday primetime. That'll be their second primetime game of the season after that.
Until Michael Penix gives me a reason to believe he's going to be a huge issue for us, I think that's a win. I think that's 5-2 right there. You can say 4-3. I'm going 5-2 there.
Okay.
In Houston, I'm giving it a loss, 5-3. What do you guys say?
Yeah. Houston's pretty good.
I got a loss too. I like their coach. I like the Texans.
Yeah, Cater, you like Texans there too?
Yeah, tough to go against the Texans. They've been on the build for a while, and they got that solid quarterback. But I agree about Atlanta. Penix is gonna be, he's gonna be scrambling for his life in that game
until he proves a reason to believe that he's gonna be an issue for us. I think the Niners win that game. That's obviously a little unfair. It's a short career so far, but I just think the 49ers are gonna be better than people expect.
I think that's a good bet, and then Houston's probably a tough game, and then they'll stay on the East Coast, I guess. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. They're gonna go 4-0 before they lose, and then they're gonna play Tampa, Atlanta, Houston. So you only got them at 2 losses there.
So I have them losing to LA, Tampa, and Houston. So they're at 5-3.
That's a good point. I can't take 4 losses in a row.
No. So 5-3, 5-3, and then I'm just gonna bully the Giants. I have no respect, no reason to have respect.
No shit.
Anyway, so I'm going 6-3 there.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that. So you're confident, Sid, the Niners are going to split with the Rams. Are going to need to do that right there. That would put them at 7-3. That would be unbelievable.
I just like the fact that it's a division game. So division games are never guaranteed. I like the Rams. The Rams aren't far. Like, we need to remember the Rams aren't far off from the Niners. Like Aaron said earlier, and I agree. They overachieved last year. They had a very young defense that turned out to be really good. So that could be the 49ers this year. Hopefully that's how
I think that defense is going to get only better. And then you added Devontae Adams. So,
right.
The Rams are a little bit tougher than people expect. I think the Rams are going to be a pretty darn good football team this year.
Well, guaranteed. I like that, but week 10 is totally dependent on that week 5 matchup because they're going to split. Nobody's going to win both of those. Those teams are going to go back and forth. So if the Niners win week 5 and beat the Rams, they'll lose week 10 to the Rams. They're not going to beat them twice.
Right. Okay, so that would put the Niners at 7-3. If they win that game, they're at 7-3.
Sorry, just the last thing I want to say that. The Niners this year are the Rams last year.
I like
So
that.
That's what we're hoping for. That's for sure.
right. So but now think of the Niners, what they can be next year. That's what the Rams are this year.
Yeah, I
So
mean the Niners were such a fucking train wreck this past season, though. I don't know if the Rams fall apart like if the wheels totally come off like it did
no,
for the
no,
Niners last year, but
no. That's not
that
what
was
I'm
just
saying.
fluky last year the way the Niners fell apart. There was no reason. I still don't understand how they fell apart so badly.
Yeah.
Injuries sucks. Coaches suck.
And
So
then
you think
Arizona's a
it's a win?
divisional.
What do you think? Win there? You're gonna wipe them out?
Who? Which one? 10 or 11?
Week 11 in Arizona.
See, I think that depends on how their first matchup goes.
I think the first matchup's a win because it's at home, and I don't know. I just feel like the Niners are going to be riding an early wave. 2 wins at home. First game at home is Arizona. I think they win that game. I really do. So this is the one
Yeah.
that makes me think the Cardinals could win. So if they did win that game, that would put the Niners at 7-4.
Yeah, and but it's how sometimes there's a season where like a team just has the other team's number, like they'll just never beat them because like there's just something. So like I have to see Arizona and see if they have it, but the Niners might just have their number and Arizona might not be able to beat them.
Cardinals always give us a problem. They do, and they
I feel
did
like
this year.
Cardinals will improve, but I wouldn't say that they're going to split those games like they will with LA. I feel like Arizona's just sort of like an unknown a little bit. Um, but moving on with the week after that, is Carolina still a bottom team? So
Yeah,
that's a
Carolina's
win.
still Carolina. That's a win. That's at home.
That's
I
a
don't
Monday
see
night
how.
football game.
Yeah, I
Too
don't see
many
how they
holes in
lose
that
that.
team.
Why the
Yeah,
fuck are they putting Carolina on Monday night?
I have no idea, but I said the same thing. So let's say the Niners are. So we beat the Cardinals the second time. That will put them at 8-3. I think
Damn.
they lose that game. I really do. I think they go to Arizona and they lose. I would put them at 8-4.
All right. So they're splitting their division, is what you're basically saying.
I,
They're going
w-
to split.
I would have them at 7-5 right now.
Damn, 7-5. Is Cleveland any better? Their defense was awesome, but are they any better?
I expect the Niners to win that game. It's tough to go to Cleveland and win, but I do expect them to win that game. I think they got a challenge at quarterback right now. They got to figure out what they're doing at quarterback, and until they do, it gives me hope that the Niners go there and win that game.
I think they win. So who's it between Shadur and
Dan Gabriel got drafted before him. You got Joe Flacco out there still.
You got Watson getting paid a lot.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be in the mix. I think he's injured. So, they got a lot to deal with at that position right now. I don't, maybe they have it sorted out by then because it is week
where's
13.
Jameis?
Jameis
He's
is a
back on the
giant.
Giants.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the
Anyway,
Giants quarterback? Okay.
this Cleveland Brown game is the definition of the game that Brock Purdy needs to win. You're the
Right.
better quarterback, you're the higher paid quarterback, and you're up against a good defense. I don't care if it's a gritty win. I don't care how you win. He needs to win that game.
Got to do
Yeah.
it somehow.
I think Tennessee's, I really think that's a win. It's at
Yeah.
home. No reason for me to believe they're going to win or lose that game coming off a bye. I think
The
they win that
schedule's
game.
looking better and better.
Yeah, exactly. This is the easiest schedule in the league, probably. And then Chicago. Chicago is a big question mark this year. Sorry, Indianapolis.
Yes.
We skipped them there. Indianapolis, I think, is a win as well. I do.
Tell me about Indy. They have who I forgot what they had.
So they got Anthony Richardson still at QB.
Oh, right.
They got Taylor at back. I think the exciting thing with the Indianapolis Colts is their defense, more so their offense.
Mhm.
They
do
still have a
good
great
line.
offensive and defensive line. If
Yeah,
I mean
they
they've
do.
had
They do.
yeah. They
Yeah, this
just
is
never
not a
can
bad
put it
team.
together.
They just need their quarterback to put it together, and they
That's
invested
right.
in this guy.
If Richardson could play like he did his rookie year for 4 or 5 games, whatever those first few games
Yeah.
were, Jesus.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great runner.
But it looked like he got the yips.
Yeah.
I think the biggest question mark of this season is the Chicago Bears because
Yeah.
they brought
They'll
in.
improve.
I think so too. I think they brought in maybe one of the greatest offensive minds in the league,
Who?
Johnson from the Detroit Lions. And I
Oh,
really believe that's one of the greatest minds in the league. I think he
yeah,
helps this team turn the page and maybe get past some of the teams in their division. The only issue is their division is a tough one. You got the Green Bay Packers, you got the Minnesota
yeah,
Vikings.
right.
That's not easy.
Who's QB of the
So
Vikings now?
it's going to be JJ McCarthy, the rookie. Well, he's a second year player now,
I
coming
don't
off
think
an
the
injury.
Vikings will be as good this year as they were last year. That was weird last year.
I mean, their defense is the reason why they're good. Don't get it
Yeah,
twisted.
but they
And
put
that
up
defense
points
is
last year.
right, but I mean,
Defense, a good old line. They got weapons. It's a complete team. They just need
Quarterback.
consistent
top
quarterback.
three defensive coordinators in the league. Talk
Right.
about a disguise every single play and leaving the quarterback scratching his head right after the snap.
Jeez.
Never knows what that defense is in until the ball snapped. And sometimes that's just too much for a quarterback. And that's what you
Yeah.
saw.
I noticed with homeboy quarterback for Chicago, USC boy, what's his name? Yeah, I noticed this in college too. He just holds the ball too long. He waits too long. And like, I'm sure they're working on it. Like, he just needs to get rid of the ball faster.
Well,
He's got the guys, he's got the routes, he's got he just needs to just let it loose and quit holding the fucking ball so long. But that is maybe still the best division in the game again, because Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota are all going to be the same. Just really good.
Tarek 13 says Brian Flores is a defensive genius, and that's exactly where I have him. I mean, anytime the quarterback doesn't know what the defense is running until the ball snapped, you've done your job as a defense coordinator. It's the worst thing in the world when I can tell you what they're going to be in on third down 3 weeks from now, and that's how it was last year as a 49er fan, because we had the
Yeah.
worst defense coordinator I've ever seen. So that's why I love Brian Flores myself. When we played against him, he gave Brock Purdy a hard time, and it was all to do with disguise, man. And when you don't know what they're running, and it's all disguised so well, and he's calling, a lot of pressures that players you're not expecting to come, they end up coming, and it just really puts the offensive line in a bind. And if Brock Purdy can't distinguish what's happening pre-snap, you're up against it, and that's just what they do in Minnesota. So I expect Minnesota to continue to do good things. They got a good offensive coach too, and their head coach. So I don't know. It
I think
depends
that's
on
the team to
what
watch,
JJ.
man.
Yeah, it depends what JJ McCarthy's like, of course. But
Right.
I'm sticking with my 12-5 record. I don't think the 49ers can possibly do better than that. If they did worse, it would be less of a surprise than doing better.
But do you think if they go 10-7, is that enough for a playoff spot? Like, how
In the
many
NFC,
losses can they take and make the playoffs?
in the NFC, 7 is possible to make
I think
a wild card.
I think they'll need 11 wins.
So who's your top 3 NFC, division winners?
Well, I want to say Philly's going to win the division. You're going to
Okay.
argue that maybe Washington could do something
Right.
this year. I'm sticking with Philly. If I was to call a Super Bowl front runner right now, it's Philly for me.
Oh, and you don't think Dallas is they're not going anywhere, right?
I think offensively, Dallas is going to take a leap this year with the addition of George Pickens and some running backs that they got in the draft. They also got a guard in the draft to help that O-line. So, yeah, I do expect the 49ers to go 11, maybe 12 wins. But if we're going to say division winners, I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to go Eagles. I'm going to take the the Lions. I'm going to take the Lions. Forgot about the Lions. Wow.
Okay.
I'm going Eagles, Lions. NFC
Bucks?
South is so brutal.
Atlanta? Yeah.
But I'm gonna take the Bucks to win that division.
I like the Bucks in that. I don't know how Atlanta's going to be, but I would like to see Atlanta be good. I wouldn't mind it, but yeah, Bucks.
If
Saints
the Niners are able to go 12-5, they could challenge the Rams for that division. But I do think the Rams will win the division.
Really?
I do.
So this is what's scary now. The NFC has the NFC North is basically every team's competing for a playoff spot.
Yes.
Okay, and then the NFC East, the Commanders or Eagles. One of them is going to be the leader, and one of them is making the playoffs, guaranteed.
Yeah. And
the Cowboys
Dallas is a
could be
wild card.
competing. They could be competing. I'm not going to guarantee a wild card, but they'll be competing.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. The Cowboys are going to be better than last year, especially on
Oh
offense.
yeah.
Well,
They didn't
especially if we're
have.
counting the Giants out, then Cowboys have a chance.
See, the Giants are an interesting thing here because their draft, they knocked that shit out of the park.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Abdul Carter's massive player, man. Like that's a big addition to their defense. Next to Dexter Lawrence, who's already a monster.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I do expect them to be better, but they're not going to win the division. Let's be real.
And Danny
That's
Dimes, did he go to another team? Where did he go? Who signed him?
who's Danny Dime. Danny Dime.
Daniel Jones.
Danny
Oh,
Jones.
hard to call him Danny Dimes. I don't know.
I know. Danny
I
Nichols.
think he's in Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he?
I'm pretty sure he
Okay.
is.
I didn't realize.
So, but yeah, if I was
So,
to go division winners in the AFC, I'm taking the Bills all day long. I'm taking in the AFC North. I'm taking the Ravens again, man. The Bengals would probably be the team to challenge them for it. I don't think the Steelers are gonna do what they did last year. I think last year was kind of lucky.
yeah, it was a little bit.
Probably schedule lucky.
Wait,
AFC
who's
South.
Pittsburgh going with their quarterback? Are they keeping rolling with Fields?
No, they don't got Fields. He's a Jet. They really
Oh, he's a Jet.
have. Sid, who are their quarterbacks? It's so bad.
Oh, it's really bad. They're still praying for Aaron Rodgers to come to it.
Oh, that's
The only
true.
thing that
That's
makes
so
sense.
weird, dude. They
I
gambled
think
on
today's
two
big
quarterbacks.
news. Big news for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. I think that signing of Brock Purdy really solidifies Aaron Rodgers' future, and I think it'll be a Pittsburgh Steelers. Most likely, what
Who
will
takes
happen.
Pickens' spot?
Now, well, they brought in DJ Metcalf, so
Oh,
DJ Metcalf most likely will be the number. Well, he is the number one there now that Pickens is gone. So he's gonna be asked to do a lot more than he thought he was going to be asked with being beside Pickens. Now it's really his show. In the AFC South, I'm taking the Texans, and the AFC West, it's the Chiefs with a freaking Broncos team right down real.
Man.
They could take it.
You don't think the Chargers are gonna?
Man, anytime you got Jim Harbaugh, you're a good football team. For whatever reason, I'm going to continue saying this. Justin Herbert needs to learn how to win. He's got all the skills. He's got all the talent. But late in games, instead of turning over the ball, accept the fact that you got a minor, like a 3-point lead. That's Jim Harbaugh wins tight games. And when you have a quarterback that doesn't understand how to win, he affects
that. Must be it. I've been wondering about that. Like Herbert's so fucking good. He's like he's almost underrated how good he is, even though he's highly rated. But like he still doesn't get talked about as much, and never could figure it out. But you're right. I think he just doesn't exactly have that like little edge, that winning edge.
No, I love Justin Herbert.
Me too.
Yeah, I love Justin Herbert, but it's just little things he does late in games. And I'm talking about when he has the lead too. I'm not even necessarily talking about when he's behind. I mean, anybody that's behind in NFL football knows how tough it is in the fourth quarter to come back. I'm talking about when he has a lead of like 3 points or 4 points. He takes chances. He turns over the ball. He'll even run and not tuck it and get stripped. He does very stupid things late in games. And that's the thing that keeps me from saying, he's going to be the guy. I mean, until he cleans that up, he's going to continually struggle. But if he cleans that up, he might see a massive leap.
Yeah,
now, my defense for go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, so 100%. I think he's just so used to having to do so much that he doesn't.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's true.
Yeah,
I was gonna say he's had to do everything. They've never had a run game. Like when he came in, Eckler might have had one good season or half a season before his injury. They've never had a good running back. They've always had all these scrubs coming in, and they just could not run the ball. So then Herbert's just like slinging it, running it, trying to be Josh Allen and shit. And it's like if they can get a run game,
always playing from behind until last year. That's the other thing too. See, Jim Harbaugh has a way of playing defensive football and running the ball, and that's a good thing for quarterbacks. Now he's just got to learn how to win that way. He doesn't need to always, like Sid said, thinking that he's got to put it all on his shoulders and try to go out there and win games, and that causes turnovers. He's got to get out of that mindset and accept the fact that he's got a legit coach now and learn how to win that way.
Right. I don't know who their receivers are though.
Well, he's got a
Did they
young
draft
young
somewhere?
stud, and Lad McConkey's a young stud who
Lad
who
McConkey.
played at a high level last year. He's got a couple decent tight ends, and the running back they had last year, I was surprised that they didn't bring him back. I
Which
thought he played really well. The guy from the Ravens, what's his name?
Gus Edwards. Yeah.
No,
oh yeah,
Not Gus Edwards. The other one. I
the other
can't think
guy
of his.
from the Ravens, because they brought in Gus and homeboy.
I can't remember his name, but yeah, he played well, and
They let him go.
they didn't. They decided not to bring him back, but I think they also drafted a running back, and I think they did, and they also drafted a receiver. They're really going to try to make
Dude,
things better around them.
wasn't that Ravens running back? Why are we forgetting? They brought in Gus and both from the Ravens,
Yeah, they did.
and he was awesome. I thought he was like a Pro Bowler last year. Why would they let him go?
He was off to a firing start, but he did get hurt, and that's been his track record. He always gets hurt, so that's probably why they didn't bring him back.
Yeah,
Well,
but he's in a really good situation. Jim Harbaugh will eventually get through to him, and he'll start learning how to win more games.
And they did bring in Najee Harris, who I'm not a fan of, to be honest.
oh, they got the Chargers got Najee?
Yeah, they brought in Najee Harris, and I'm not a fan of him, to be honest.
No. Yeah, I think he's overrated. Like, I agree with you. You guys play fantasy, because
Yeah, exactly.
man, I got stuck with Najee like 2 years ago, and I was like, never again.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins was the running back I'm talking
J.K.
about.
Dobbins. I'll have to look and see where those guys ended up. I forgot they had actually a good run game for the first time, and they had a good season. They just missed the playoffs because that Denver was on a tear, and the Chiefs are in their division. Raiders were no threat, but there's just not a lot of room in the AFC when you got Ravens, Bills, Cincinnati, KC. There's just a lot of good teams. I think the NFC is a little bit more open.
Yeah, I mean, the AFC is stacked. They got all the elite quarterbacks: Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes. Those are the only elites, and they got all four of them.
Yeah, your margin for error of getting into the AFC wild cards is like, I think you gotta have you have to have 10 wins. How many NFC teams we've seen over the years like squeak in at 9-9 or some bullshit like that? Wasn't there a couple of teams with losing records that made
The Bucks made the playoffs like 2 years ago. That division's a disaster, though. It's been a disaster, and they got in with a losing record and lost to the Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, that's NFC. That's it for today. I really wanted to bring on Aaron. It was a pleasure having you. One of the funniest guys you'll meet, and a fun player to play pickleball with.
Hell yeah, man! I haven't seen you guys, man. Sid, I haven't seen you in weeks.
Yeah, I'll try to make it out next time.
You need to get a show together so we can go watch you live. For those of you that don't know, Aaron Cater is a comedian all the way from LA, and I'm still waiting to catch the first live show.
Straight up, we'll do it right after Stampede.
Okay, sounds good. Until next time, guys, take care, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.
Peace out.
Take care,
Word up, bros.